So we will start our lecture today also with the discussion that whatever we learned yesterday. So,
Ma'am, I had a question.
very good, very good. Bolo ye.
Ma'am, there is presence of hymen. So, how does menstrual bleeding come out?
Very valid question. Hymen is there, but it's not intact, or it's not something which is not allowing the anything to pass. Even if hymen is there, a person can have vaginal infection also. It has porosity to certain extent. Through those pores only the cell debris and menstrual flow comes out. Understood?
Okay, ma'am.
That's it. It's just a myth that it is protecting a girl from many things and it's a sign of virginity. It is just a thin membrane which is there for partial protection of vagina. That's it. Valid question, very valid question. Anything else, anyone? If no, then we will move ahead. So who is going to, yesterday dish started. Today I want someone else to speak about yesterday's topic. Jia, can you say what are the parts we studied yesterday?
Ma'am, we studied about cross-pollination.
Very good. Cross-pollination.
After we studied about the promoters of cross-pollination.
Okay, promoters. Then yesterday our main discussion topic was
Agents of cross-pollination.
very good. Agents of pollination. So yesterday we studied about one very important thing, that is pollination in Salvia, the lever mechanism. I guess many of you left the class. I request always to you that do not leave the class early. Once the video of this one, the microsporogenesis and everything is over, we discussed about the lever mechanism of pollination in Salvia. So who is going to tell me about this? What is the lever mechanism? What happens in the lever mechanism of Salvia?
Protandrous maturation.
And then why it is called lever mechanism? I showed one video also, no?
Yes, ma'am. That honeybee will, मैम वो उसका pollen anther वो पीछे की तरफ.
कैसे? We need to describe it ना properly. कौन describe करेगा?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes.
Ma'am, whenever an insect or a honeybee, मतलब flower के nectar suck
Be
कर रहा होगा,
comfortable,
तो
speak in Hindi. It should be understood by everyone, no problem. I generally don't speak Hindi because I speak wrong Hindi बेटा. I never studied Hindi as a subject, no. मेरा था और थी का गड़बड़ बहुत होता है. That's why I prefer to teach in English. But you people can speak Hindi, no problem. बोलो.
मैम जब भी हनी बी या कोई भी इंसेक्ट नेक्टर सक करेगा तो एंथर थोड़ा बेंट हो जाएगा और हनी बी के बैक पे मतलब पोलन ट्रांसफर हो जाएंगे.
मतलब बेसिकली एंथर होती ऐसे है. Structure of anther is like this. So whenever honeybee is applying pressure, and in this part, the upper part will come down and touch the backside of honey. जैसे ही वो निकल जाता है, the moment it is coming out, वो वापस से इस पोजीशन में चला जाता है. When it is pushed, ये पास आके it will touch the back side of honeybee. The moment the pressure is released, it will come back to this position. So this is what is called lever mechanism. Others can refer. In video, it is very nicely described. So such kind of some specialized pollinations are topic of discussion for today. We will start with that. These are specialized pollination, very interesting kind of relation or symbiotic relation with the animals and the plants, where they have mutual understanding and help each other. One of such pollination is pollination in yucca. What occur in pollination in yucca? Okay, it is a obligatory symbiosis. What do we mean by symbiosis? Symbiosis किसे बोलते हैं हम?
मैम म्यूचुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग, म्यूचुअल रिलेशनशिप.
Not only हाँ, एक क्या बोलो?
एक लाइकेंस में होता है, मतलब एक प्रोटेक्शन देता है, एक शेल्टर देता है.
But that means two of them are getting benefits from each other and they may stay together in one type of symbiosis. They stay together. In others, they may not stay together. साथ में ना भी रह सकते, but they are helping each other. So obligatory symbiosis means this symbiosis के बगैर the functions of these two organisms will not do. So that is called obligatory symbiosis. एक टाइप की symbiosis होती है, जैसे lichen is an example of obligatory symbiosis. कि नहीं हुआ तो फिर बहुत मुश्किल है. It's not possible to formation of lichen. Okay. So in this case, the obligatory symbiosis with Tageticula. So Tageticula is what? A type of moth which is also known as Amoeba. It's a type of insect. What happen is the female moth visit the flower at night and make balls of pollen. So वो क्या करता है? पोलन के balls बनाता है and this ball is carried by them. Okay, so they carry the ball. Okay, and after carrying, what they do? They lay eggs in ovary. और उसके बाद क्या करता है? Push the ball. Okay, they push the ball to hollow stigma for fertilization. So, what is the benefit? किसको क्या फायदा होता है? For wasps, it will get a place for laying eggs, a shelter for newly formed insects, and what is the benefit to the flower? For doing it, it is going to help in the this pollination. वो pollen ball को लेके stigma के अंदर ऐसे push कर देता है and then the pollen ball can go inside up to ovules present in the ovary and they can move on. Understood everyone? If not, then let us have a look into the video. It is totally created using night vision camera, and really nice one. A bit patient you need to be. फटाक से ये नहीं होने वाला है because वो तो हमारे मर्जी के अनुसार नहीं करेगा. Will not do it as per our requirement. But if you are patient, you will be able to see it properly. Wait for some time. Let me adjust the sound. Actually, in this case, not much sound is there. Is the screen visible? Let me adjust it for. Is the screen visible? There is no sound in this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's have a look. It's collecting the pollen. See, slowly and steadily from stigma, it is collecting the pollen. See, these are anthers. Okay. And now it is laying egg in the ovary region. And this is the part of stigma. वो pollen जो उसने collect किया वो penetrate कर रहा है and it is pushing it in the stigma of flower. Can you see? Isn't it wonderful? How like organisms which we think कि भाई हम human are the greatest organism in the universe. Others are managing things so nicely. Understood, everyone? Can I consider?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So one thing is pollination in yucca. Next type of special pollination method that we are going to visit is pollination in Orchidophyros.
Ma'am, can you adjust the screen? The written part is bit blur.
I can understand. I will. The written part will be blur. I know that's for video sharing. We don't know. Pollination in orchid. It's called Ophrys. This is a very like strange mechanism. This mechanism is also known as pseudocopulation. So what is copulation? We know that when male is injecting the male gamete into female's body, that procedure is known as copulation. Pseudo means false. The meaning of the word pseudo is false. So what do we mean by pseudo copulation? That is false copulation or injecting male reproductive cells at the wrong position. Okay, so in case of Orchidophyros, what happens is, beta, the flower is having shape like female wasp. If you see that the flower have shape like female wasp. So what happens is male wasp do what? They get confused about this flower and the female, and they start copulating. So males get confused and copulate flower. So what will happen? The pollen that is stucking at their back is getting inside the female flower. So in this case also, is it understood, everyone? Very simple but yet very effective method. This type of phenomenon is called mimicry. We will study about mimicry later on in your last unit. Okay, so let's discuss now. Can we have a look into this video also? I think we can. Let me share the screen. Screen is visible, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's have a look into it.
Whose unusual flowers mimic a female wasp and lure male wasps to copulate with them. Tongue orchids are named for the striking red tubular labellum that resembles a rolled tongue in most species. Tongue orchids have a special place as the first Australian orchids to be recognised for cheating their pollinators, following observations by Dorothy Coleman in 1927. Dorothy observed the strange behaviour of colourful ichneumon wasps on the small tongue orchid Cryptostylus leptochila. Instead of entering flowers head first, as they would if feeding on nectar, the wasps backed their abdomens into flowers. Subsequently, Dorothy's mother Edith famously demonstrated the wasps were all males, and that they coupled their genitalia with a ridge at the base of the labellum, a phenomenon called pseudocopulation. Small tongue orchid flowers produce no nectar and rely entirely on pseudocopulation by the orchid dupe wasp, Lysopimpla excelsa, for pollination. The males are so completely deceived that mating is fully consummated with deposition of sperm in the flowers. Edith Coleman further discovered that the orchid dupe wasp also pollinates the large tongue orchid by pseudocopulation. And we now know that all 5 Australian species of tongue orchids are pollinated exclusively by the orchid dupe wasp. While males are mating with the flower, their abdomen is pressed against a sticky disc, the visidium, which adheres near the tip. Attached to the sticky disc are bundles of bright yellow pollen, the pollinia, that are pulled free of the anther when the wasp withdraws. As in many orchids, the entire pollen load is removed by a single pollinator visit. The positioning of the pollinia on the wasp is the same in all 5 tongue orchid species, which raises the possibility that since all 5 orchids share the same pollinator, pollen is likely to be transferred between species, potentially resulting in hybridization. Yet, even though different tongue orchid species may occur in the same habitats, no hybrids have been found, and all attempts to artificially cross tongue orchids have failed, indicating there are post-pollination barriers to hybridization. The orchid pollinia are cleverly positioned in one of the few places on the wasp where they would not interfere unduly with its day-to-day activities. They are just clear of the wasp's wingtip and genitalia, allowing it to fly and mate normally. Nevertheless, wasps are acutely aware of the encumbrance and may vigorously, but unsuccessfully, attempt to remove it with their hind legs. Sharing of the same sexually deceived pollinator by 5 closely related tongue orchid species indicates that the varied colours and shapes of the distinctively different orchid labella all mimic the same female wasp, which raises an interesting question. Why do males of the same wasp species attempt to couple with such different-looking pseudo-females, especially since the orchid labella all bear only a passing resemblance to real females, which look much like the males? The answer is that the main attractant to the flowers for the males is not the physical appearance of the female decoy. Rather, it is odours or scents emitted by each orchid species that exactly mimic the sex pheromone used by female wasps to attract males from a distance. In this last clip, we see that, no matter how highly evolved a pollination mechanism might be, things do not always go according to the textbook. In this case, a male orchid dupe wasp, already mating with a large tongue orchid flower, is joined by a smaller rival. Neither male is prepared to give way, so they both continue coupling. When they withdraw, the wasps are bound together by the sticky disc, half attached to each. For quite a while, neither wasp seems to know what to do. In the end, the smaller wasp decides to make a determined bid to get free. In the ensuing tug-of-war, the small wasp manages to disengage, leaving the pollinia placed to one side of the large wasp's abdomen. This displacement of the pollinia to the side is not optimal for deposition of pollen onto the stigma of other flowers the large wasp may visit. This episode is likely a rare event. Even so, it illustrates a key feature of the deceptive pollination strategies that are so prevalent in orchids. All such strategies exploit urgent.
So I guess the concept is clear to everyone. They are describing it from another point of view, but the main idea is when the wasp is sitting on any kind of flower, the pollen disc, sometimes you can see the yellow part that is sticking at the back of the orchid, back of the wasp. And it's mentioned that not only structure, but also the smell of those flowers are mimicking the pheromones of the uh, uh, female wasp. Do you know what is pheromone? Anyone? Pheromone क्या होता है? Class? What do we need?
Ma'am, don't know.
See, you need to know. What happens is, pheromone is something which is a chemical related to smell secreted by lot many animals in the world. Okay, this is something it is also a matter of study. Many people feel कि हम humans भी pheromone secrete करते हैं. And specific smell, एक example मैं दूंगी. Although it is like no such chemical is still isolated in case of human. आपको पता है छोटा बच्चा जो होता है वो अपनी माँ की खुशबू पहचान लेता है. Have you ever wondered? उसको तो कुछ आइडिया भी नहीं होता है कि क्या है ये. Do you agree with me? 100 गोदियों में जाता है, उसकी आंखें बंद रहती है, वो माँ की खुशबू को पहचानता है. आई डोंट नो विथ यू पीपल, अब आप शायद बहुत बड़े हो गए हैं. हर एक बच्चा अपना माँ की खुशबू पहचानता है. वैसे हर एक एनिमल जो होती है, they release a scent that is unique to that animal, that specific animal species. The opposite sex is responsible to smell it, and they get attracted towards each other via that pheromone only. So same type of pheromones are secreted by other animals also, especially insects secrete them very correctly. So this pheromone is a chemical smell which is secreted by the female flowers other than the shape of flowers, which is having similarity with the female wasp. The smell of those flowers are also mimicking the pheromones of the female wasp. So once male wasp are going to the flower where like they are collecting the pollen grains. After that, when they locate the female flower, they get attracted towards each due to pheromone as well as the shape of the flower, and then they start pseudocopulating. Okay, so that is all about pseudocopulation in orchid. Now, is it clear to everyone? Can we move ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
So the next part that we will know, that is the last type of pollination, special pollination, that is called pollination in ficus. ये ficus, there is a fruit called fig. Fig कभी किसी ने देखा होगा कि नहीं, I don't know. You search in internet fig. उसको खाते भी है. It is very nutritious also. I don't know what it is called in Gujarati. So
Ma'am, anjeer.
Anjeer, हाँ, very correct, very correct. So that fig is actually what I can say, pollinated by the female wasp. Okay. So what happens in this case? This is also a procedure where it is a there will be a obligatory symbiosis with wasp. कई बार इसका तो वीडियो में आपको दिखाऊंगी, आपको बहुत मजेदार लगेगा. So what happens is, here the name of pollinator is blastophaga or blastophaga. It is pronounced like that. Phaga means phagic. So now you know that phagic means the one which is eating something. So blastophaga is something which is actually responsible for eating a part of flower. So how it is done? In this case, ficus has a special type of inflorescence. Ficus has a special inflorescence. I don't know if you studied it last year or not, which is called hypanthodium. It is called hypanthodium. Okay. I'm not going into detail of hypanthodium, but you can search this in the internet and find out. And if you studied it last year, it will be all right to you. So what is the specialty of this type of inflorescence is, this type of inflorescence is closed at all type except one. Only one type is open and it is closed by all sides. I hope you know what is inflorescence.
Yes, ma'am.
Inflorescence means arrangement of flower, isn't it?
Flowers.
So hypanthodium may the flowers are arranged in a cup-shaped structure and they are closed from all sides. So what happens is the wasp lay eggs. The wasp is laying eggs inside, and उनके जो young होते हैं ना, young ones feed on galls of flower. Galls of flower मतलब जो flower के parts होते हैं, वो parts खाते हैं young one. After the they come out of the egg, they eat the galls of flower, and then what happens is when they come out, when the new ones come out, they have pollen stick around them, and when they are sitting on another flower, they are responsible for pollination. मजेदार है, सोचो that one flower is feeding them. Okay. जब वो डोम शेप्ड हेल्पेथोडियम से बाहर आता है, they just like what I can say, drop the pollen grains into the female flower. So this is the way it is done. Again, I am going to take advantage of the videos. I collected them. You can have a look into them. Is it clear to everyone? Concept? Let me just open it. Pig pollination. Sometimes they are saying, is it like dead wasp that we are eating? Very funny kind of video you can see. Acha, one question let me ask you. If I am showing you video, do you think it is beneficial for you to understand, or if you think, nahi ma'am, aap mat batao, it is wastage of time, frankly let me know. I will stop showing. What do you think?
It's beneficial.
Because certain things, if we describe, no, it's better to look into it. That's what I feel. Let's have a look.
Something about the texture that I find so delightful. The outside is soft, but the seeds in the middle give you this totally satisfying crunch. But it turns out that many species of figs contain the bodies of
Is it visible and audible clearly, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
dead wasps. I'm Anna, and this is Gross Science. Figs aren't exactly your typical fruits. You can think of them as packages that contain all of the fig tree's flowers within them. But if the flowers are trapped inside the fig, how do they get pollinated? Well, that's where fig wasps come in. In most species, pregnant female fig wasps carrying pollen are attracted to young figs. They enter through a tiny opening at the fig's bottom that's highly selective. It usually only lets in the exact species of wasps that pollinate it. But even the pollinators have a hard time getting in. Most lose their wings and antennae in the process. The wasp's goal is to find a home for her babies. And the perfect home is inside the fig's female flowers. Those are the ones that would produce seeds if they were fertilized. So the mama wasp drops a fertilized egg into as many of the female flowers as she can, sometimes up to a few hundred. But she can't get to all of them. Along the way, she winds up fertilizing the rest of the flowers with the fig pollen she's carrying. And those flowers begin developing seeds. Once the wasp is finished laying eggs, she usually dies inside the fig.
Goodbye, cruel world. Bleh.
Each baby wasp begins to grow encased in a protective structure that the plant forms called a gall. The male wasps mature first.
Hey.
When they emerge, they find the galls of the female wasps, many of whom are their sisters, poke inside and impregnate them before they've even hatched.
This seems wrong.
Then the males die inside the fig, but not before boring tiny holes through the fig's skin. When the females do emerge, the fig has just started producing pollen. The female wasps pick up some of that pollen before making their way through the holes their brothers drilled and go off to find a new fig to start the cycle again. But the story's not over. At this point, our fig seeds are finally mature and ready to be planted. And that happens when the ripe fig is eaten by animals, which poop out the seeds, spreading fig plants far and wide. Of course, Humans eat figs too. So when you bite into a fig, are you actually eating the bodies of dead wasps? Well, if you're getting your figs from the supermarket, then most likely not. See, humans and figs have a really long history. We've probably been domesticating them for over 11,000 years. So while there are over 750 species in the world, most of the figs we eat are a species called the common fig, which humans have had a huge hand in creating. In fact, some common figs are seedless and don't require pollination at all. Other varieties of common fig do need to be pollinated, but have separate male and female trees, and we only eat fruits from the female ones. I'll put a link in the description to a great explanation of how common fig pollination happens, but long story short, female wasps can only manage to lay eggs in the figs from male trees, not female ones. But they can't tell the difference between the two types of trees. So if a wasp does enter a female fruit, she'll pollinate it and either manage to escape or die inside the fig. And then that fig might make it to your table. Frankly, one wasp here and there isn't enough to deter me from eating these things. But if you're still feeling squeamish, just think about it this way. By eating that fig, you're benefiting from a complex and, in my view, beautiful partnership, or what's called a mutualism, between two very different species. One that's been delicately crafted by around 90 million years of evolution. And that certainly whets my appetite. At least for curiosity, if not for dinner.
Don't you think the process is really interesting? It's really interesting. So this is how it proceeds. We are done with almost all type of different types of pollinations in case of different types of special cases. If you don't have any question regarding this, then we will go to the female reproductive part of flower. Anyone, any question? I have everyone with me.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can understand the life cycle of a wasp is totally controlled by the symbiosis between that and a plant. So their life cycles are intricately what I can say, connected with each other, isn't it? So that's a very beautiful thing. Anyways, so anyone, any doubt in this special type of pollinations? If not, then we will move ahead towards the next discussion, that is description of female reproductive parts of flower. That is carpel. Anyone, any doubt?
No, ma'am.
So, one more thing I would like to speak about, that is when we started this chapter, Beta, we mentioned that, especially I mentioned that in case of angiosperm, the main flower, the main part, that is the main, and the other part which is dependent on it is sporophyte of the plant, isn't it? We decided that. So you can ask me that what is the gametophyte then? Okay. So what do you think is gametophyte? I just want to clarify that part. Is it evident to you that which part is gametophyte? We will first talk about male gametophyte. So here the male gametophyte. What do we mean by gametophyte? Gametophyte means, phyto means here the plant. It's symbolizing or carrying the meaning of that as if it is a plant. And gametophyte means gamete bearing. So many a times there is a misconception, beta, that what is the gametophyte? ये मिसकंसेप्शन बहुत रहता है कि गैमेटोफाइट क्या है. इन केस द मेल गैमेटोफाइट इज पोलन. ओके, ना के कार्पल, सॉरी ना के स्टेमन. अंडरस्टूड एवरीवन? अगर कोई पूछे व्हाट इज द मेल गैमेटोफाइट, द आंसर विल बी पोलन, नथिंग, नॉट द स्टेमन्स और एंड्रोशियम. ओके, क्लियर टू एवरीवन? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is something you need to remember. And the tree that we see, जो बड़े से plants हम देखते हैं, they are the sporophyte. Why they call they are known as sporophyte? Same. Here sporo means the seed. They are referring seed as the spore, and or they are considering that micro and megaspore as the spore, and the plant that is bearing them is known as sporophyte. So this is something I want no one to get confused, because lot many questions are asked in entrance examination especially regarding it. Okay, so now we will talk about the carpel. So we will start with the description of female reproductive system, which is known as Megasporophyll. So Megasporophyll is also known as carpel. Why again Megasporophyll? Three different words are there. Mega means big. So as the size of female gamete is bigger in size in compared with the male gamete, that's why mega. Sporo means, megaspore is the meaning of this whole word. Megaspore means the female gamete. And the fill means leaf. So the leaf which is bearing the megaspores are known as megasporophyll or carpels. Okay, so how does megasporophyll how does it look? So basically it is considered as a modified leaf. That's screen sharing is proper. I need to check that also now. Sorry. It may be blur. Now is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Bolo na, if it is blur, let me know, huh? Because sometimes we share and share for videos, we need to click certain like adjustment for that. Okay, so it is actually considered as modified leaf. So how this leaf modification is so we need to look into this modification. If you have a structure of leaf, this part is known as midleaf. I guess all of you are aware with it. Okay, so basically how the leaf modification is occurred. In this case, the leaf is folded upward. इसकी जो folding है, that is upward. मतलब I need to show this to you. Upward folding is ऐसे. Consider करो, if this is a flat structure, if it is folded like this, then we call this as upward folding. So leaf is folded upward, and how it is folded? the fold along with which or rather to say, let us talk about it is as a margin, the fold or margin along with which the carpel is formed. It is called ventral suture. Okay, and the side of midrib is called dorsal suture. Don't worry, I will draw and explain to you, so you will understand this part. So basically what happens is the placental tissue, here also placenta is there, lies along with the margin, develops ovary. So the concept is that leaf is considered as to be modified to form carpel or megasporophyll. How that is done? Consider leaf is having a flat structure like this, and this part is the midrib. Now what happens, beta? This leaf is folding like this. So this is the midrib part, and it is folding and getting attached with each other. This same leaf is getting folded like this. Just like if the leaf is like this, it is getting folded like this. So this part where there was opening is known as ventral part. Okay, and the part which is near midrib is called dorsal part. Sometimes it may be the case also the leaf is folded like this. That means the midrib will be staying at the upper part and the other part is at the down. So in such cases, the placental tissue, what is placental tissue? Basically the part which is folding along with, which is not associated with midrib. जैसे कि यहाँ ये अपनी समझो midrib है. If this is the midrib and if leaf is folding like this upper part is known as ventral suture, and the part where midrib is there is known as the dorsal suture. So placental tissue can develop either in the ventral suture or in the dorsal suture. Whichsoever side the placental tissue will be developed, the ovule will be attached to it. The way in case of human, uterus is there, and inside uterus there is a child growing up in an amniotic sac, and placenta is attaching that, it's a connection between the fetus and the mother. In case of plant, situation is totally same. They don't have a specialized structure like uterus for development. Okay, inside ovary only they have ovules. Inside ovule there are female gamete. Okay, so I hope this part is clear to everyone, the portion of ventral and dorsal suture. Is it clear? Am I audible? अच्छा, is it clear to only Yesha? Isn't it? बाकी किसी को नहीं समझ में आया, किसी ने yes मैम बोला ही नहीं. नहीं समझ में आया तो बोलो बेटा, I can explain. Yes Kausha, any doubt बेटा?
Can you repeat it?
You're not audible clearly, बच्चा. Chalo, we will move ahead considering nakshatra. Understood? Mishka?
Yes.
Understood?
Ma'am, can you repeat it?
Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking अभी ये तो मुश्किल होगा. चलो, anyways, you see the recording. I will once again draw the diagram and answer. See, leaf is like this, isn't it? So if you look at it in a as considering it is as a flat surface, the surface is like this, and the midrib is located at the middle portion of the leaf, isn't it? Now consider this leaf is folding. So how it will fold? It can fold either like this in upward direction, or it can fold either in this downward direction. इसकी ये वाली जो हिस्सा है, this part can fold in upward or downward direction. Understood? Then the leaf structure will be no more flat. It will have a structure either like this or like this. Understood, everyone? So once it is folded, the midrib will present at here. The midrib will present here. Now generally the leaf is folding in upward direction. मतलब upward direction का folding मतलब ये ऐसे नीचे की तरफ इसके जो parts है वो fold होंगे. So अब इन बायोलॉजिकल सिस्टम में कभी भी ऊपर से जो चीज दिखती है, समझो एक कुत्ता है, एक कुत्ता ऐसे, आई डोंट नो इफ इट इज टॉट टू यू इन एनिमल किंगडम क्लासिफिकेशन चैप्टर, एक समझो कुत्ता है जो, सॉरी वेरी बैड डॉग आई एम ड्रॉइंग, डू नॉट फोकस ऑन ड्रॉ, फोकस ऑन द कंसेप्ट. चलो कैट ड्रॉ करते, इट विल बी इजी फॉर मी टू ड्रॉ. तो एक कैट है क्यूट सा. अब ये कैट जो है इट इज स्टैंडिंग लाइक दिस. तो इसकी जो अपर पार्ट होता है जो हमें ऊपर से दिखता है, दैट पार्ट इज नोन एज डोर्सल पार्ट. और पीठ की तरफ का जो पार्ट होता है दैट पार्ट इज नोन एज वेंट्रल पार्ट. तो कंसिडर अ सिनेरियो इफ एनी लीफ इज हैविंग अपवर्ड बेंडिंग. अपवर्ड बेंडिंग मतलब उसकी जो लीफ के जो ब्लेड है दैट इज मूविंग इन दिस डायरेक्शन. तो इसकी जो मिड रिब है दैट विल बी प्रेजेंट एट द अपर पार्ट. सो दिस विल बी नोन एज डोर्सल suture. Suture मीन्स क्या होता है? What do we mean by suture? Suture मीन्स एक छोटी सी what I can say, एक लाइन को बोलते हैं suture. और यहाँ जहां पे इसने फोल्ड हो गया, लीफ के दो जो ब्लेड है दे आर फोल्डेड टू क्रिएट दिस पार्ट इज नोन एज वेंट्रल suture. Understood everyone now?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure? नहीं समझ में आया तो बोलो. Feel free to talk to me if you don't understand. Okay then, let's move ahead. Sure ना, everyone understood? आगे बढ़े ना? Mahi? Okay. Nakshatra, I didn't get any answer from you, beta. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So we will now see about the parts of a specific carpel. Carpel की parts I told you already. If you generally look into a carpel, it is having specific part. Upper part is called stigma. उसके नीचे का जो part होता है that is called style, and this is called ovary. Okay, which is located on thalamus. So this is stigma. Stigma is the part where actually pollen get deposited. We will talk about the interaction between stigma and pollen grains, how specific stigma, recognize specific pollen grain, and what exactly happens when a correct type of pollen grain touch a specific type of stigma, that we will discuss in detail. उसके बाद होता है style. Style is actually a generally a what I can say, a rod-like structure. But as soon as pollen grain is getting deposited on stigma, what happens is beta, the inner cell of styles are getting dissolved. So the rod-like structure like this pen is getting deposited into, getting transformed into a hollow pipe-like structure. And through that hollow pipe-like structure, the male gametes can enter and reach up to the ovary. Inside ovary, there are ovules. Okay, and there are various type of placentation of ovule. There may be one ovule, there may be many ovules. Ovules are connected with ovary via placenta. Okay, so basically inside ovule there is presence of female gamete. Okay, so today we will know in detail about the structure of ovule and types of ovule. Placentation आप सबको पता है? Parietal placentation, all this you know. Basal placentation. Studied last year. ये chapter number 5 में था बेटा.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone is aware of it. Types of ovule also सबको पता है. Orthotropous, anatropous.
Ma'am, types of ovules नहीं पता है, placentation पता है.
Placentation तो पता है, चलो तो हम कोई नहीं, आज we will study about placentation, about the structure of ovary, and then we will see the different types also. So let us start about the description of a ovary. Let me share the screen. We will not waste time in drawing the diagram. That's why I selected a diagram. You can describe from there. So ovule is the major important part of female reproductive system, and it is very important in the sense because it carries the female gamete. But along with female gamete, various other types of cells help in reproduction are also present in the ovule. So today we are going to learn about the detailed structure of the ovule. I need to enlarge it a bit so that you people can look into it clearly. Is it clear to all of you? Almost?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, in ovule, specific parts are there, and each of their parts are having their own a role in during the development of female gametes as well as in post-fertilization aging. Okay, first thing is chalaza. You can see this micropyle. We will start with micropyle, or let us start with the attachment point and go in anti-clockwise direction. First, we will talk about funicle. What is funicle? Funicle is the stalk-like structure It is the stalk-like structure that attach ovule to placenta. If you are aware of placentation, you must be knowing that in the wall of ovary there are connections like this, and through these connections ovules are connected inside the ovary. And during this connection, the stalk-like structure which is connecting the ovule to the placenta of ovary, that is called funicle. Okay. What is the next part? Next part is known as hilum. What do we mean by hilum? So basically, hilum is the attachment site of ovule to funicle. ओके मतलब पहले प्लासेंटा रहेगा, उसके बाद फनिकल रहेगा, उसके बाद हाइलम रहेगा, और देन द ओव्यूल इज अटैच्ड विद द ओवरी. So these are the different level of connection. Up sometimes in case of specific plant, you can see a strip-like structure, which is actually strengthening the core of the hilum and the funicle. The streak-like structure is extended towards the upward direction. This is known as vascular strand. So this is strengthening how it is full of xylem and phloem. Even the ovular part are also responsible for require some kind of transportation so that they can get some water and food from the main plant. Female plant, male plant, I mean to say. So that's this vascular strand is facilitating that. Okay. Now this part is known as outer integument. So what do we mean by integument? Integument, before we go there, we will talk about embryo sac. What is embryo sac? Here, this embryo sac is the female gametophyte. The way pollen is the male gametophyte, here embryo sac is the female gametophyte. I hope I am audible clearly and screen is visible to you clearly.
Yes, ma'am.
Because this part which I am describing is very, very important. All of you need to pay your attention. Okay, so this embryo sac is actually known as female gametophyte and it contains egg apparatus. What is egg apparatus? Why we call it egg apparatus? हमने क्यों directly नहीं बोला कि उसमें egg है? Because other than egg, other cells are also present there. Next part that is labeled here is outer integument. Okay, what is this outer integument? Outer integument is nothing but it's a outer covering that protect inner parts like the egg apparatus and the embryo sac. So it is a layer by layer. Outer part is known as outer integument, और इधर आप देख सकते हो it is present below outer integument and protect. इसका भी function that is same. It is also helping the protection of the protection of the inner parts. Okay, now let us talk about the chalaza. Before we talk about chalaza, one part is mentioned skipped here. It is known as raphe. What is raphe? Raphe is the actually longitudinal ridge what do we mean by ridge? Ridge मतलब एक what I can say, जैसे कि समझो कैसे समझाएं, हम अगर ऐसा करें अपने गले को तो यहाँ देखना एक लाइन आती है which is खड्डा होता है, उसमें एक लाइन होती है. This type of thing is called a ridge. Ridge means a line with depression. Okay, So basically, agar if any layer is having a like depression, continuous depression in the form of line, it is called ridge. So basically, raphe, what happens in case of raphe, it is the longitudinal ridge. Why this is there? It is formed due to fusion of funicle with body of ovule. So this is the body, and this whole part is known as the body of ovule, and this is the funicle. You can see this ridge, it is quite prominent here. This is the almost called the ridge. एक खड्डा जैसा है, एक depression जैसा है, which is known as the raphe. Okay. Now let's talk about the chalazal pole or chalaza. Chalaza is actually, it is the place of origin of integuments. Okay. Or we can give it another name also. It can be termed as basal solen part of nucellus. So you will have a question, ma'am, ये क्या है? Nucellus, what is nucellus? So chalaza and micropyle are generally general cases में normal जो anatropous ovule है उसके केस में chalaza and micropyle lie in the same plane. Now, what is speciality of chalaza is generally during the fertilization, pollen tube that carries the male gamete enter into ovule via micropyle. But किसी केस में अगर वो micropyle से घुस नहीं पाया, there are options that it can enter through chalaza. Micropyle is originally created for most of the cases. It is entering through that, and it is known as orogamy. But in some rare cases, it can enter from chalazal side also. Then it's called as chalazogamy. Now we will talk about nucellus. What do we mean by nucellus? So nucellus is having a very important role here. It is a mass of parenchyma cells These are like mass of parenchyma cells that provide nutrition to developing embryo. Obviously, seed germination is there, but unless seed is before seed germination, during the developmental stages of embryo, there is no chances of photosynthesis by that seed or embryo. During that time, nucellus is the one which is producing the nourishment to the cell. Okay. Now, what is micropyle? Let us talk about micropyle. Micropyle is basically a narrow pore. So what is the significance of this narrow pore? Or we can call it in the form of passage. It is a narrow pore or the passage. Actually, at this part, integument is absent. So through this pollen tubes enters. Okay, now what we are going to see, ये अंदर वाला part is blur, so I am going to enlarge it somewhere else and explain it to you separately. If you look into this inner part, this is known as embryo sac. It is known as embryo sac. If you look into typical embryo sac, you will be seeing a set of cells. Okay, what are these set of cells? The cell which is largest in size and present near the microphylar region. If this is the microphyte, this biggest cell which is having a prominent nucleus is known as egg. Along with egg, two other cells are there. These two cells are smaller in size as compared with egg. They are known as synergids. Okay. At the center, there is a single cell, but it is having two nucleus. This is known as polar nuclei. And at opposite side to the micropyle, generally in case of typical anatropous ovule, this is the chalazal side. There will be three cells. These three cells are called antipodal cells. Okay, so basically let us now have a look into the ploidy level of each cell. Obviously, egg, as it is going to get fertilized, its ploidy level is N. Synergids is N also. This polar nuclei is 2N. And antipodals are also N in their number. तो टोटल कितने सेल रहते हैं एग apparatus में? How many cells are there in egg apparatus? Can you count? Can anyone count? 7 cells. But how many nucleus are there?
8.
8 nucleus. I don't know if you have heard about this or not earlier. There is a saying that angiosperm is having double fertilization. Okay, actually two male gametes are fertilizing one female gamete and one polar nuclei over there. एंजियोस्पर्म के केस में और क्या होता है, एक मेल गैमेट आके इट इज फर्टिलाइजिंग द one is fertilizing the egg, other is fertilizing the polar nuclei. So the one which is the cell which is produced by this fertilization A and fertilization B, the one which is produced by this fertilization will develop into zygote, and the one which is responsible for production of zygote is a 2N cell, and in this case it will produce a endosperm, and in case of angiosperm the endosperm is triploid 3N. So ploidy level is something you need to be very careful. वो entrance में भी ऐसे question करते हैं, then board also they can ask कि एक plant है जिसकी leaf में chromosome number is 14, तो उसकी पोलर न्यूक्लियाई में कितने क्रोमोसोम्स रहेंगे एंड एंटीपोडल्स में कितने क्रोमोसोम रहेंगे. सो यू नीड टू नो प्लॉइडी लेवल ऑफ ईच एंड एवरी स्टेज वेरी क्लियर. हैव अ लुक इनटू दिस anatropous ovule. I have written all the parts very clearly, but if you have any doubt, let me know. Take some time and look into it. Is it clear to everyone? कोई शक किसी को? लॉक कर दे हम? सब लोग देख रहे होंगे.
मैम डन.
Done na? So I want you to remember this. Today I am not starting should we start with the types of ovule or what do you suggest? Yes, Kausha. Kausha, I think some problem is there with your speaker. We cannot hear you clearly, beta. Let me see if there is any option of no, here is no option of like question answers. No option is there. No problem. If like I consider no doubt is there, should we proceed for the types of ovules? What is suggested?
Ma'am, can we do the other part later?
No problem. Choice is yours. If saturation point is there, I don't believe in teaching. So today what we learned, we will repeat once again. We learned the specific type of pollination in what are the plants? What we studied? Today specific type of pollination in किसके पढ़े? Orchids, which is known as pseudocopulation, जिसमें फीमेल फ्लावर की स्मेल और स्ट्रक्चर देख के मेल वास्प is copulating in the female. चलो, और one point is given to me by Yesh. I want others to speak. नक्षत्र और क्या पढ़े हम? कौन सा दूसरा पढ़े? जिया, if you want to speak, you can speak also बेटा. युक्का का. युक्का एफिकस, उसमें क्या होता है? Can you tell me, जिया? What happens there? What happens in yucca?
जो moth होती है वो like पोलन के balls बना देती है.
हाँ, और वो जब एग को ओवरी के पास ले करता है, उसके बाद उसकी जो स्टिग्मा हॉलो होती है उसके अंदर बॉल्स को पुश कर देती है ताकि फर्टिलाइजेशन हो जाए, है ना? और उसके बाद तीसरा हमने कौन सा पढ़ा? मजेदार सबसे फिग वाला. वी स्टडीड ना फाइकस में. So what happens in case of ficus? Female wasp पूरी तरह उसकी हाइपरथोडियम के अंदर घुस जाती है और वो क्या करती है? एग्स ले कर देती है. अब बहुत सारे फ्लावर्स होते हैं, कुछ के केस में 100 up to 100 इट लेज एग. बाकियों के केस में जब वो मूव करती है उसके बॉडी में लगे हुए पोलन के द्वारा इट गेट फर्टिलाइज्ड. नाउ फ्रॉम दोज एग्स जो मेल होते हैं, दे एक्चुअली कॉप्युलेट द फीमेल्स in their developmental stage. तब तक वो फीमेल्स बड़े नहीं हुए, उसके पहले ही वो उनको copulate कर देते, fertilize कर देते, and then they, if possible, they fly. If they cannot, they stay there inside it only. उसके बाद क्या होता है? Females when they germinate, males की धक्का मुक्की से जितना फट गया है, holes create हो गया है, they carry the pollen in their body and then they fly away and then they go to another peak and lay the eggs there. Okay, so this is a very strange kind of mechanism. So these we studied. Then we studied the structure of typical ovule, that is called anatropous ovule. We studied the different portions like funicule, vascular stand, hilum, embryo sac. अब ये terminologies आएंगे. हो सके तो आज घर पे ये पिक्चर को एक बार खुद ड्रॉ कर लेना. आई नो आप बोलोगे कि मैम हम देख लेंगे तो हो जाएगा. वंस यू ड्रॉ नो, यू विल हैव क्लियर आइडिया इन योर माइंड कि कौन सा पार्ट कहाँ पे. सो व्हाइल टॉकिंग अबाउट फर्टिलाइजेशन, इफ आई मेंशन एनी डिफरेंट पार्ट, इट विल बी इजी फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड. ओके ओके क्लास, इज इट ऑल राइट?
यस मैम.
चलो फिर कल मिलते हैं. टुमारो वी विल स्टडी द different types of ovule, and then we will study the process of fertilization in case of animals. Okay, think about the doubts if you have any. Okay, beta, bye.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.